How you doing, Sean?
Really good for yourself.
I'm all right, mate. What you on with?
Just about to do some work after this, but yeah, been doing nothing, eating a bit of family time, but back's playing up, so I've got myself comfy, so I'm all good to go.
Good man. Good man. Okay then, straight in with it. Uh, the Cobra got an interview with Turkey.
He did. He's getting exposure, isn't he? He's getting
Yeah.
people in front of the camera. Now he's heading over those places. Yeah, he's getting higher and higher profile people. Yeah, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I didn't. I hadn't really watched it. I've only heard. But I've heard that he didn't ask about holding hands with Bricktop. I was surprised about that. Are you?
Yeah, I was a bit, yeah. Obviously, it's your first chance with a person who's basically running the sport. So, but yeah, I did watch it. I watched it a couple of times. A little bit disappointed he didn't ask the questions because he normally does. But who knows? Who knows uh, what you're allowed and allowed not to say there. But yeah, you're not missing much if you haven't called it all yet, Porky. All I'll say is that.
Yeah, well, I can't bring myself to watch it, mate. All I'm going to say is I'm not. People keep emailing me constantly. My opinion. Look, I've said my bit. I'm not him. Everybody has different styles about how they go about doing things, don't they? He's
To
his
do.
own man. I'm my own man. So
Absolutely. The last thing we can do is accuse Carl of being lacking independent thought and a set of
oh,
cojones.
not after CV he's got. I mean, his CV is
Oh,
amazing, isn't it?
absolutely. Yeah. So maybe it's the first dish before some other interviews where he does get to be a bit more insightful. So who knows? But
Yeah, let's hope he gets his feet under the table and puts it on him, Cobra style.
yeah, because if anyone's going to, we will. So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
good luck.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna wilt like Coogan and Puppy Parsons and the Gad and Adam Cattrall and all the rest of them. He doesn't strike me as that type of kid. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Different breed, different class, almost different species. Yeah, no, I don't think there's any risk of that.
Yeah, I'm just I don't agree with all the abuse he's getting today because I think his CV should give him a pass on that. But he's got to get his foot in the door, hasn't he?
He does, but these people that do the trolling immediately after,
Oh,
they'd have had their eyes fluttering if they got anywhere near the front of the sheik. So yeah, I don't. I suspect Carl's not bothered one iota about what these people are chirping online.
now he's thick-skinned. Okay, Ben Shalom has gone legal with sorry, not Eddie, Bricktop regarding Ben Whitaker and the Liam Cameron situation. Bricktop saying, "Bring it on, let's go to court." What do you think to that?
Oh, I think you got to have, brace yourself if you're going to pursue legal action with Bricktop because he doesn't back down, does he? He'd take you to court for a fiver. So yeah, I don't know the details behind that case, but he might be a very expensive journey for Ben if he does pursue it with Frank because he don't lose many. If he does lose them, he often finds a way to wiggle out and getting his wallet out, a la Calzaghe in Sports Network. So I hope he's done his own work.
Well, when he lost that Don King one, he sued his own lawyers, didn't he, and got
He
money.
did, yeah, yeah, he did, he did, yeah,
He's the only man to sue his own lawyers, isn't he? Brilliant.
yeah,
He
yeah.
loves it, doesn't he?
His missus was suing the builders. The builders took his missus to court a couple of years back. So yeah, he's never far from a court. So but yeah, I'll watch it with popcorn.
uh, Eddie and Ben Shalom. It looks to me like Eddie kind of holds him in contempt, when he's in his presence,
Yeah,
like he's there by default. And I can see where he's coming from, but let's not forget either Eddie were given his position at Matchroom by his dad, Bonnie Barry. So
absolutely. Yeah, the reason fast cars in the room as Eddie Hills is pure nepotism. Say what you want about Ben, but he doesn't come from a family dynasty where this is concerned. So the arrogance that fast car puts forward, it's not like he's worked his way up from the ground up, is it?
no, no, it's kind of odd in my opinion. I think. Anyway, I don't
But
know.
there's a posh bully. There's a posh boy bully in Eddie though, isn't there? And there's that lass who went to private school when he was there and talked about how much of a bully she was. Jodie Marsh. So,
Gosh,
yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It says how
in a
much
book, in it. It's in a book.
it is, yeah, and he's never really responded to it because I suspect it's true. But yeah, yeah, another one for Eddie.
Yeah, that he was having a go at a nose, wasn't he?
He was bullied. He said he said it had some lasting effects on him. But he is a bully. He is a bully though, isn't he? He's doing the little bully in the younger kid. He's a year 11 bully, the younger seven in this instance, isn't he? That's how I see it.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people are saying that Eddie's hanging on for dear life at the moment. I did a video on it. He's only really needed for this 5 versus 5, and he's got Joshua and Conor Ben. Well, Joshua's a busted flush, and we know the Conor Ben situation. He's never won a belt. He's basically a gimmick fighter, isn't he, because of who his dad was. Uh, what do you see happening if there were no Joshua and no Conor Ben? Where would Eddie be, do you think?
I suspect I wouldn't be surprised if Matchroom refocus their efforts as they did before when he got back in the sport on other
Yeah,
sports.
years ago. Yeah, when they had
Yeah,
Tony, they only had Tony Dodson at one point, didn't you? Remember back in the day?
do, yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie and Co move back into the sports that Matchroom have got with the likes of golf and darts and focus on that. Like I say, they've sold part of their business already to a global capital equity firm, so I
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if Eddie does recede into the sunset with or without Australian friends. But anyway,
yeah. Hey ho. Uh, this, it's sad to see, really, because he's running around in his Roger Moore tuxedo. Have you seen it?
I have sadly.
Uh, and from what I gather, he weren't on the top table. It were Bricktop who were sat there with Turkey, and Eddie weren't. You know, the Bricktop on one side, there were no Eddie Hills on the other side. Hills, there were not. He were like in the rafters. So I'm starting. This Ring magazine do.
Yeah.
I'm starting to wonder if he's becoming a bit of an all-round now, or is he banging trouble? What do you think,
I think it sounds like that, and so it'll kill the ego of someone like Eddie
Eddie?
for that to be happening. But yeah, he's definitely going down the leagues in terms of importance and influence. But he'll never admit as such, will he? But it is if his two biggest stars are never has been and a has been, then he's going to get lower and lower on those dues. He'll be walking around doling the canapes out at this rate. Give it a couple of years.
Yeah, it's. Do you think it's a shame how it's ended up for Eddie?
No, I don't think anything involving Eddie is a shame. I think if there's any demise, it's entirely of his own making. He's got oodles of cash from getting other people to punch each other in the head. So no, I don't think there's anything bad that can happen to Eddie that could ever be construed as a shame. Because what's he done for other people? Lined his pockets.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they reckon that he's had 60 million out of job with Joshua off Joshua
Yeah.
alone. You know, his slice of cake.
Yeah.
So
So
you'd have thought that Eddie, at that 60 million, would have given Carl Froch a slice of that because he got Joshua to sign, didn't he, with him?
what a good if you're talking about worthy finders fees, then he's well overdue for me, but he's still dodging coming on for Carl's channel, isn't he? So
Yeah.
perhaps we'll get some more insight when he does go on, because I know for a fact, without knowing the gentleman, that Carl will definitely put it on him.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I want to know when Eddie's going to go on the Cobra's channel.
Maybe the dwindling importance that he has, he'll get to the point where he needs to go on the
Go on
channel
there, yeah. Yeah.
to get some airtime. But that'll be nice to see that power dynamic change because,
Yeah.
yeah, long perhaps they call it karma, Porky.
Yeah, Eddie crawling to the Cobra.
I'd love to see that. It would make me smile without sounding too petty, Porky.
Yeah. Uh, Bricktop going on about he's not going to rush Tyson Fury into a decision uh, to come back to boxing. He's happy with Tyson as he is, and he can walk away in that. But is he just playing the game? Does he want Tyson to fight again, or is he happy that Tyson's saying he's retired?
I think what Bricktop's doing is pretending that he's got some influence over that decision, because he'll have none. Tyson, when he does wake up on Morecambe Bay, will decide to do what he decides to do. when Bamba gives him a shove when the dog walkers are walking over him in a week or so,
Yeah.
um, it'll be Tyson that decides what he does or doesn't do. And if he listens to anyone, it'll probably be the likes of Spencer. It certainly won't be Bricktop. So that's why Bricktop will be saying, "Oh, it's up to Tyson to do what he wants, and if he does walk into the sunset, blah blah blah." But that's Bricktop trying to make out that A, he cares about him, and B, that he's got some influence, which neither of which are true.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's nobody going to tell Tyson what to do. Nobody.
No, not at all. Only unless he rings certain people at 3 a.m. when he's shot through, but that's another conversation.
uh, this Joshua Fury fight now, they sparred in 2011, so we've heard about it ever since then. They've still not fought. Do you think it'll ever happen, Sean?
I've 14 years conversations about a fight that's yet to happen. It's similar length of time to the Khan Brook that eventually happened when one of them was particularly shot through and one had just about held it together. I don't know, but money talks, and I think if they're going to carry on fighting, and AJ's made it crystal clear that he does not want an immediate rematch with Triple D, and who else is Tyson going to fight unless we get the horrendous scenario that you gave me nightmares about Fury Chisora 4, 7, 11, however many times he fought,
Yeah.
then I think it's very likely. And they'll both parrot the promotional things that it's 14 years in the making and it's the biggest fight in boxing and everyone needs to see it. When in the end, it's two people that have lost twice to the best boxer of the generation, scrabbling around for money, of which I think there'll be plenty. So yeah, it probably will happen.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Who have you got winning it? If you see, if
I and and I'll always be honest about I change my mind. I'm rarely right anyway. But I think Fury. I think if Fury, I know Fury lives a lifestyle that's not fantastically healthy, and AJ is probably a lot healthier than him in some respects. But I think the fact that AJ combines being unable to pull the trigger as well as now being cautious, but he's not got the whiskers to match that cautious stance. Um, I think Fury will win it. I think if Fury comes in any way resembling fighting shape, regardless of how he looks, when he's increasingly looking like back fat Betty. But I think if he does come in any way close to fit, I think he does AJ because the one thing Fury does is gets up again, even if he does get hurt a bit, and he's been down more than my ex-wife. Anyway, but yeah, he. I do think Fury's got too much for him, however limited he is now and past it.
well, they've both been down, haven't they? I mean, Fury's been down 8 times in his career on floor. Joshua's been down 9, but technically it's 10 in it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we've got Jeff Powell saying that that Fury's the defensive genius, Sean, haven't we? And he's
I think we have to remember though, Jeff Powell's about 107 and hasn't said anything relevant for about 25 years. So I'd take that with a large pinch of salt. So if that's the defensive genius, I think it says more about Jeff Powell's faculties than their actual faculties.
yeah. Do you think Jeff Powell's just playing the game, trying to stay in?
Yeah. Well, he makes a living from scribbling. So yeah, of course he will. He needs something to write about, doesn't he? As well as getting competent to go and cover it.
Yeah. What's disappointing me is Dubois seems to have been forgotten in all this, done it, all this hype. Nobody's mentioning him, have they?
No, that has confused me. I know he jumped in the ring and made an arse of himself after the last fight. But yeah, don't know. I suspect he'd be happy to fight either of them, but I don't think either of them would want him because they won't gain anything from. Well, they'll get a version of the title, but it's a very big risk for them, isn't it? So I suspect they'll fight each other and pretend Daniel doesn't exist. But I might be wrong.
Well, Fury's not got a belt. Joshua's not got a belt. Joshua's got a rematch clause for Daniel Dubois, right? And Fury, obviously, he wants to be a world champion like any other fighter. So why are they not making Bricktalk always used to go on about in-house fights, didn't he? Well, why don't they make that fight and blah blah blah? Well, why don't Bricktop make Daniel Dubois after the Parker fight, winner of that against Fury and get Fury back in mix and get a belt? What? No, nobody's mentioning Daniel Dubois and Joshua's swerving him like the plague, isn't he? And he's had a rematch
No,
clause in every fight.
You're absolutely right, and I'd forgotten about that rematch clause. I suspect he doesn't want to activate it, but yeah, we did the the fact that Daniel is with the same promoter as Tyson leads me to think that it's Tyson that doesn't want the fight. Because I suspect Daniel's young enough to fight anyone, and he's shown previously that even if he did get an L, he's young enough to come back from it, isn't he? So I don't think Daniel's the the reason that fight's not happening. Do you?
No, no. Obviously, Daniel Dubois, he's got a belt. He'll want to deal with Parker. But if Parker beats him, I'm sure that they could put Parker in with Fury, couldn't they? Maybe Fury might be waiting to see who wins it.
Maybe. I think they've always said, haven't they, though? They've always talked about somehow Parker and Fury being like brothers, haven't they? So I don't know if that's a limit for the
Well, him and
limit.
Chisora were supposed to be brothers one the other year, brothers from another mother.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they still fought 3 times, and they really didn't need to fight the second time.
No, they didn't. No, so you're right. So maybe who knows? Maybe it will happen. But yeah, Daniel's got to get through Parker before he starts thinking about who he needs to fight next. But yeah, that's not a shoe in, is it? By any stretch of the imagination, that fight.
No, no. Fred Doo's pet, Scooby Doo, aka Del Boy Chisora, he's come out and he's saying that Joshua beats Fury if they fight. But he's going to say that in it, Del Boy, innit? Because he's chumming it.
It was. It was. AJ used to look up to him. Was it at Finchley when
Yeah, yeah.
AJ was first starting to box? So, but yeah, Del Boy says a lot of things, doesn't he? And contradicts himself a lot as well. So I won't put. I'd apply a large measure of salt to that statement from Del Boy.
How long do you see Del Boy going on, Sean?
I ain't got a Scooby. I thought he would. I thought he would done 4 year ago, but he just keeps reviving himself, and I know he some dubious decisions along the way, but he does keep resurrecting himself. I did not think he'd fight. I knew that Joyce had been zanged twice, but I still thought he'd come through Chisora, but he didn't, and he put him down. So I don't know. Was he talking about wanting to get to 50 fights and have a fight in Africa? But I don't know. He could go on for however long he wants to fight, and however long they can squeeze some money out of him with his war moniker. I wouldn't be surprised if they stuck him in with someone like Wardley or someone, and because they've both got the same ring moniker. So who knows? But the one thing I do like about Chisora is he's very honest. He fights for the money. He's not asked about titles, is he?
No. Where do you see Wardley going? Because he looks to me like he could be in that Who Needs Him club, like Luis Ortiz was for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's made a good decision signing with Queensbury because if you need access to heavyweights, old Denthead's got them. Yeah, but as for who, I don't know. If he does he hang around? Is there anyone domestic that he wants to fight? Or is it get a fringe one to get a ranking for when the titles naturally fracture, which I'm sure they will. So I don't know. He's got lots of options. However, I don't think many people will be queuing up to fight him because on paper he's got such a limited background, and yet he's walking through people. And when he does have a tough fight, like he did with Fraser, who was one of my favourite fighters,
Yeah.
he broke him literally. So I don't know. I don't think there'll be many promoters from different camps wanting to put their fighters in with him because he's destructive.
Yeah. Speaking of Fraser Clark, who's a likable kid, he's 34 in August. Uh, he couldn't give any more in that first Wardley fight, could he really? Do you
None.
think that took a lot out of him? And now with his second one, he had a massive injury, a big dent inside of his head. Do you think that could be him cooked now?
I do, and I really like Fraser. He's such a likable
Yes.
human being.
Yeah.
I think there's two things where Clark's concerned. I think he stayed and took a lot out of him being an amateur, and he fought all around the world and fought a lot of quality fighters. Um, and then that loss um, to Wardley at a domestic level, let's be honest, has taken an awful lot out of him as well. So I'm not too sure where he goes from here. But he did mention on Talksport this week that he's back in training, so and he's carrying on. So good luck to him. But without trying to sound like a social worker, I just hope he stays safe because I don't want to see him get hurt.
Yeah, well, he could always be a trainer, couldn't he, or a manager or something, couldn't he, if he didn't
Yeah,
fight? He's got
he,
experience, hasn't
he has. He has. I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him if he does come back, carry on and achieve something. But 34 might not be old for a heavyweight, but it's when you've had the fractures that you had in that last fight, and it looked like multiple fractures. It just worries me on a human level that that's a lot of damage to take.
he? Yeah. Eddie's got Wembley booked or reserved for Fury Joshua. He's talking Battle of Britain, but it's not so long ago that Fury were coming into the ring with an Irish flag and Joshua with a Nigerian flag in it.
Yeah, they seem to be nationality fluid, don't they? I know we're in an era when people talk about being gender fluid. I think these boxers now are nationality fluid. When it serves a purposes, they'll whack a flag round them, and when it doesn't, they'll take it off or they'll wear two. So it makes me chuckle a bit in terms of their loyalties, but it probably just shows what their real where the real loyalties lie, and that's with themselves and the wallets.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Fighters frozen out at the moment. The word around the campfire is that Anthony Yard, he's frozen out. Uh, what do you think to that?
Yeah, I think he's if his friendship. I know he's his trainer, manager, whatever, but I think his friendship with Tunde and advice from him has left him out in the cold. And unless I think to get back, not that he will, he needs to bin Tunde off and be very apologetic towards Bricktop. So I think that's the only way he gets back in it. But it depends how deep the clutches and claws of Tunde Ajayi are within him because he's currently it's if Tunde was any measure of man, he might perhaps advise Yard to bid him farewell for the good of his career, but I can't see that happening. But yeah, as it stands, he's in the Who Needs Them club and he's been frozen out on a promotional level as well. So people like Frank Eddie, they're not going to touch him because they don't want to bite the hand that's feeding them, which is Bricktops.
Yeah, yeah. I think the best thing they could do, looking at it from outside, putting my hat on, and knowing how promoters think and how they always try to even the score, because they all. One thing Dennis always used to say to me, she was, "Listen, I'm a winner, and win at all costs, even if it hits you in pocket." Dennis always had to win, even behind scenes, them little battles. And looking at it, how I look at this now, right? Only way back for Yard is. You got to drop Tunde as his manager trainer, still have him as trainer, have him as his trainer, and go and get the housewife's favourite, Francis, the son. Throw
Yeah,
him a bone, let him be manager, and then you'll get back at mix because he'll be getting his palm grease, won't he? Off, he'll be getting some cake. That's
great
their only
idea.
way back in now, but they're not going to do that. So they think they pull the smart one with Sky, but that's a sinking ship with Ben Shalom. That now.
Oh, absolutely.
And
But no, you're right.
Bricktop could quite easily end up with that Sky deal, Sean.
Yeah, yeah, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. He's been with them before, been with them for a long time. But I think that's a really good suggestion. If he did do that thing with Francis, because then the Warrens are getting paid twice.
Yeah.
They're back in the camp, and Tunde's on the edge. So
He's
Frank's
still
feeling
getting some at job and he's still getting his trainers fee and that, and they're not out in cold because this parked up nonsense is no good.
no, and he's not yet, and he's just inactivity is not going to do him any good because if throughout his career he's fought nobody, then got chucked in against elite. So he needs to get out there, needs to get fighting again. So it must be frustrating when you're in that position because it's not really your fault, is it? He doesn't make those decisions.
No, no. Looking at other people that are frozen out, I've had it confirmed today that Dylan White is definitely out of the circle. There's no bones for him. People have got a long memory in boxing, haven't they? And he's shot his Senate foot a few times. But why is Eddie gone quiet on White? And why isn't he running to his rescue? Because I thought they were friends to the end.
Yeah, but I don't think White ever helped himself. White turned. My understanding was that White always did it on fight by fight deals, a little bit like Wardley, but obviously Wardley's managed by Dillian, but he never had a long term deal. So why would Eddie show him that loyalty? Really, when from a contractual position, White was never signed to him on any long time deal. So that's White might have retained control of his career in that sense, but the person who he was with for a long time, he was never really with in that sense. So I'm not defending Eddie at any stretch, but what does Eddie owe him?
Yeah, exactly. You don't owe him anything, does he, really? Because he's lined
Not a
his
beat.
pockets, and he's very limited, White, and he's a millionaire.
Yeah, he must be one of, in terms of earnings to ability ratio, he's done very well out of the sport, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, so Yard looks like he's on outside looking, and then White. Yui, why is Yui not getting thrown a bone? He's had 3 wins on trot. He's only 30-year-old. Nobody's mentioning him whatsoever, are they, in any conversation? Do you think that could be something to do with his cousin, Tyson, and Bricktop and all that?
Maybe. I know obviously Peter's too dignified to ever go into the details of why that relationship
Yeah,
soured, but he's with a fantastic defensive trainer. Peter's universally liked across the sport. So and Huey, when he's healthy, and he's had health issues, that makes excuses, he can be a fantastic fighter. I know he's stuck the place out a few times, but I like Huey. I like watching Huey. I think Huey's got abilities. You don't win World Youth Championships without having talent. And he's not old, despite him. He looks about, bless him, he looks about 46, but he always has done. But yeah, I would love to see him get back in the mix because I think he's one of the few people that could not get spun over by a Bacoli or even a Wardley because yes, I don't think he's ever been down, even in
never been
sparring.
down in his career, Yui.
Yeah, no, and he can be a really good boxer. So yeah, I don't know if it is that if the other Tyson clan are bitter enough to try and hold up his career, but nothing would supply him there. But I hope he gets back into the fold. I know he's been with Hennessy, and then he was with and he's bounced around the channels and stuff. But I like watching him personally. He's one of my favourite boxers. But I don't know how he gets back in unless he takes a really risky fight and rolls the dice. But I think Peter said as much as well in the channels where the interviews that he does with Aki, who seems to be the only one who gets any access to him. I hope he does because I like him and I like Peter.
Yeah, well, Tyson Fury's been down 8 times in his career, but he was never down with Peter in corner.
That says a lot, doesn't it? Peter, the departure from Peter was not due to training issues; it was family issues, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, but I would love to see Peter go on a run with Huey and get close to a big title fight and a shot. Because I like the pair of them. They're the good Furies in my eyes.
Yeah, yeah, agree, agree. Young Puppy Parsons with his DAZN debut, Sean.
I know I had to zoom in because he's 3'6", but he's done well, and it just shows you that if you rim him long enough, it does pay off. But it's not to my tasting. But God, I had to be subjected to watching him in Australia in front of a camera, smirking, and then loads of interviews with his crap jokes with Eddie, like he's somehow relevant. I just wish, yeah, if it's an indictment of the media when someone like that, who's not a journalist or got any talent, gets in front of a camera, front headline in a major card. But yeah, Jesus.
Do you think boxing's the only sport where people don't need a university degree to have a bit of a voice in the media? You know, like when you look at them old timers,
Yeah,
like your Jeff Powell's and all them, look, they all were educated men, aren't they? And that. I wonder what they think to these YouTubers that bounce up and they're like little controlled pets by promoters, aren't they?
yeah, and I think, like I say, Bunce, you can see Bunce when he's in it. I know Bunce not a university educated, but he's worked his way up from the very bottom and was an amateur boxer himself and knows a lot about boxing. And the few interviews with him, with some of them, you can see he's almost in shock at the crap that he's surrounded by in terms of what passes for journalism now. It
Yeah.
must be confusing to the older generation that these turds get airtime.
Yeah, yeah, agree with you, mate. I absolutely agree with you. Uh, the middleweight division. We're going to have Conor Ben at some point. They're saying it's nearly done and that and blah, blah, blah. If they fight at middleweight, it's obviously not going to be for a belt, him and Eubank. But where do you see them two's career going? Do you think they might just have 2 or 3 fights amongst each other and milk it to death? Or do you see them actually going and doing something, achieving something? Or is it just this gimmick stuff?
I definitely don't see him doing something. I definitely don't see Ben ever doing something unless he gets fed a made up belt. But Yeah, I'm glad Eubank doesn't at least have to come down to 157 and kill himself because he has fought at 168 and won titles, albeit lesser ones. I think it'll just be a fight where I'm not saying it'll be scripted, but they'll have a fight, and if it's in any way close or goes round, they'll then have a rematch, and then God help it if that fight's any time half decent, they'll have a trilogy. But yeah, I don't see either of them going on to do something unless Ben gets fed a weak champion. But Eubank, he's too old, I think, to go and win titles. And I don't think it's ever been his motivator, really. Otherwise, his best title wouldn't be the British title that he won about 12 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was about 10 years ago, wasn't it? That.
Yeah, sorry, my timescales are rubbish, but yeah, actually, I got confused 'cause he'd won the WBA interim and the IBO so many times, but I was
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
trying to think of the one decent belt he'd won.
I think he's got a couple of WBAs interim
Interim.
and a couple of IBOs and in a British.
Yeah, I remember the IBO title at super
Kendall
middleweight.
Quinlan.
Yeah, but that was the one that ITV Sky Box Office, which sold about 4 tickets, and the stream didn't work anyway. So I think that caused them to knock it on the head.
Yeah, yeah, agree with you. Martin McCauley put it on Joshua at the Ring Magazine's awards. So I'm going to knock you out in a round, and they said, "Let's do it. Let's make the fight." Do you think Eddie will put Joshua near McCauley?
No chance on this planet will he put him anywhere near Martin Bacoli. Yeah, no way. And if I was advising AJ, I would advise him to turn around whenever he saw Martin Bacoli because I know sparring's only sparring and stuff, but Martin can really hit. I know he never looks physique-wise brilliantly, but physique's a physique. It's not a modelling contest, it's a boxing fight.
Yeah,
But now I do not think, I think if he does they do fight, he will land someone near, but he'll either be in Rosehead or Button Moon when he wakes up.
yeah. Dave Allen said to me a few years ago that Martin McCauley's the best guy he's ever sparred.
Well, blimey, and he's sparred. And like I say what we want about Dave Allen. He has sparred everyone, hasn't he?
But everybody, Dave, is tough as old
Yeah,
boots. He's Donny lad. He said
yeah,
Martin
absolutely.
McCauley's the real deal.
Yeah, I like the story when he talked about lying about his heights that the Klitschko's brought him over to spar. But no, he has sparred everyone, Usyk, AJ, Fury, everyone in between. So yeah, if he's saying that Bacoli's the best one, then there's an element of truth in that because he has been punched in the head by most people who currently or previously fight him.
Yeah. Do you think Caballero will get his flowers and get a chance? Because he don't get a mention, does he? Like McCauley and
No, he doesn't, and I really like him because whenever he gets chucked in as a B side in a difficult fight, he wins. So yeah, I meant to research after, but I never have. I don't know who manages or promotes him, but I wish Frank could pick him up and run with him because he's really good and he could be a legitimate champion as opposed to these paper champions they have to position to look like they're in any way good. Yeah, the only way I think he gets a real chance is if somebody underestimates him. But yeah, he's another one. I think he's chief of the non-British Who Needs Them club. But he's really good. Thrice European champion, not old, really talented, can box, got a dig on him. Great fighter.
yeah. Okay. Uh, we'll finish off on this one then. Uh, Canelo Crawford. Who you got?
Ooh. Size leads me to think that Canelo, as phenomenal as buddies, will not win this. And Canelo is historically a weight bully as well as using other supplementation. I think it'll be Canelo, as much as I'd love Bud to put him on his head.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, who's your pound for pound top guy at the moment in world boxing?
Usyk, followed by Usyk, and then Inoue.
Is that because Usyk's fighting guys 3-4 stone heavier than him and half a foot taller?
Yeah, as well as the fact that he's cleaned 2 divisions and he's conducted. For me as well, I know it sounds pathetic, but the pound for pound, the person at the top of your pound for pound, should be someone who also conducts himself well and is an advocate for the sport. And I think there's no one better than that than Usyk. The likes of Crawford and stuff are in top fives, anyone's. But for me, it's Usyk.
Yeah, and then I know you.
Yeah, because I like I said, people go, oh, he don't fight outside Japan. So he lives in Japan. He's brilliant. Then come to him. But yeah, I do think that. I do think that as well. Yeah.
I had a good chat with Scott Quigg about I Know You and Joe Gallagher, and when I filmed at Joe's earlier this year, sorry, last year,
Yeah.
and they were like, they watched him warm up before he had a fight, and they were like, he just glides across the ring. They're just
Yeah.
Joe Gallagher thinks I Know You was a really special fighter, and Scott Quigg was saying to me he's really, really top, up there.
And they're two people that know their onions, aren't they? And know
Yeah,
this.
of course, Quigg was world champion, wasn't he?
He was very graceful and did it the hard way as well. He didn't win all his
Oh,
fights. He
Quigg
just
didn't take no shortcuts, did he?
no, he did not. Well, back like I say, deservedly so, and looking like he's making his way as a good trainer himself, while his brother makes his way in the sport. So good luck to
Yeah,
him as well.
good
Could
luck.
I just could I know I don't mean to interrupt
Yeah.
at all. But I just say having watched the boxing last night, and I know it was
Oh
a
yeah, go on.
seven card one, and it was an early stoppage, but I thought it was particularly good that Callum Simpson, as well as retaining his titles, did it a few weeks after his sister had died tragically. So
Yeah.
I was made up for another Yorkshire lad. You know I'm Yorkshire biased, Porky, but I thought it was fantastic that to complete your camp when you've lost your younger sister and still fight and come out with a win. I think that is a real measure of the man, and he's now at ranked number two with the EBU, and I think he's 12 on BoxRec. So I hope he goes on to do some real damage in that division. And I think it's weak, that super middleweight one, so I think he can do some real damage there. Not that he's weak, but the opportunity is there, and I just think well done, Callum.
Yeah, and I think super middleweight's weak and middleweight at the moment.
Me too, me too. And he is 6'3" and a very large guy. And I met him when he was before the Oakwell Chelly fight because we were staying in the same hotel as him. And he was an absolute gentleman and gave my daughter and me some time and stuff, despite the fact he'd not made weight. So I just thought he's a good guy and I want to see him do really well.
Yeah, and so do I. All right then, Sean. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you for your thank you, and I hope you had a good weekend, Porky. And I know that we'll speak soon, and I look forward to listening to some other interviews from you other guys during the week.
Thank you very much, Sean. All the best.
Take
Cheers,
care,
mate.
buddy. Bye.
Bye. Oh, that was Sean from Scunthorpe, ex-strongman, a bit like Richard. Uh, Reminds me of Julian, very straight talking and straight to the point and got a bit of class. So, okie dokie. Hope everybody's all right. Thanks for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. Max, I might let you text me this week, Max, if you're nice. Go on, peace out. Booyaka.